Where do women leaders go for real, unfiltered conversations regarding issues we don't often talk about openly? This is the place and the space. Welcome to Still I Rise, where we not only talk about it, we say the quiet part out loud. And remember to chime in on topics you'd like to have us discuss. Join us for Still I Rise.
What we understand about our hair as women of color, that the way our hair naturally grows out of our head, it's beautiful. But if we struggle to make it look like the standard, that means we are spending thousands of hours and lots of money straightening out what is naturally curly hair, right? And that takes time out of your life. It costs money. Braids allow me to get them done, and then that's one less thing that I have to think about. I can put them up in a ponytail, I can tie them back, I can have them out, I can diversify, but I still have freedom. And that's what I want in my life. While I love, changing my styles and doing all the fun things with hair, when I'm out of the public eye, I am swimming, I am playing tennis, I work out, I like to be active. I don't want to have a stylist with me because a hair can't get out of place, right? And braids represent that kind of freedom for me. Also, I understood the symbolism of me wearing braids as the former First Lady. I wasn't sure whether the country was ready for it yet. The Crown Act hadn't been passed yet. There was a lot that we were trying to do. And just like fashion, I didn't want my hair to become a distraction. But I understood the significance of wearing braids to our portrait unveiling. I wanted to send a message as well to young women and to all of us as women that we should be the ones determining what is appropriate for our hair. Not our boss, not our workplace, not some standard that doesn't even reflect us. Let us be the ones who make the decisions about how we want our hair. And if I want to wear it straight, if I want bangs, if I want braids, if I want them up, if I want to add a little color to it, let that be my business. Nothing is inappropriate. So I wanted to send that message. I wanted to add to the chorus of Black women in places of power saying this too is an appropriate and beautiful way to wear your hair.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Still I Rise. This podcast has been so much fun. Thank you for your feedback, for your thoughts, for subscribing, for listening and sharing. I understand the other day in the hair salon, they were talking about this podcast. And so it gave us an idea about hair. Thinking about hair and what hair means in the workplace. People wear their hair so many different ways. And so Dr. Gunnings and I are going to talk today with State Senator Sarah Anthony, who actually introduced and passed legislation talking about hair in the workplace. So she'll be on momentarily. But in the meantime, Sonya, there's so much about hair. There was actually a report done by the Dove Institute, by Duke University, that talked about straight hair. Women with straight hair, more uniform hair, are more likely to have a career trajectory and seen as being more professional than women who wear their hair the way we do.
Well, and for some reason, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's unfortunate, but I'm not surprised. Keep in mind, especially Black women, we have this history of relaxing our hair, making our hair straight. And I know, and Paul, I know you have as well. I know throughout my career, there were times, for example, if I was giving a presentation, if I was going to be giving a speech, one of the big things that went through my mind is, how am I going to have my hair today? So thinking, okay, I recall having a conversation with another colleague and both of us saying, there are situations we just don't feel comfortable wearing our braids. Yes. And that's sad.
It is sad, but it has the culture change. Is it more acceptable today? And that's what women need to be mindful of in the workplace. They need to be mindful of that and make their own decision. In your particular profession, it could have an impact.
That's right. And I do think you're absolutely right. It depends on your profession.
Absolutely. When I was in banking, That was a whole taking people's millions of dollars and investing them in the
Yes.
bank.
Yes.
They didn't want to see somebody looking all wild and
I think you
natural.
look sexy, baby. I think you look sexy.
That's why I went for sexy instead of professional. So the
Yeah,
older
I
we
think you
get, the
look
more sexy
sexy.
we want
The
to speaking.
question is, if you look sexy, what profession are you in? But you do look.
I
I
have
think you look
options.
good.
That way I have options for professions. But the other part is you talk about sexy, you talk about women in the workplace, how much cleavage is too much cleavage,
Yes.
piercings in the nose and the ears and the
Hmm.
eyebrows. I'm out of town, but I saw someone yesterday with a piercing in both eyebrows, across the nose,
Yes.
and they were
Yes.
welcoming people to the institute. So we need to be mindful of that. What
Yes.
would you suggest women do in the workplace if they want
Well,
to get to that next level or get to the C-suite? What would your
right.
suggestion be?
I think this is a tough call for me, I'll be honest, okay? And I think I am never going to fall in the camp where I ask women to too much compromise who they are,
Hmm. I agree.
and so I want to be real careful about telling women, any woman, that she can't be expressing in her own beauty, her own presentation, who she is.
As long as they know
But
the options, the choices, right?
that's right, right. But
Mhm.
at the same time, um, I think there are a lot of situations for professional women in which we do things in a way we would not want to particularly do them to accomplish our goal.
Yeah.
So I think that this is where you use some real judgment
Mhm.
about how it is and where it is and what it is that you do. And
Yeah,
I'll
I
tell you
always used to say, I think you should know the consequences. You
the
decide, but you
consequences.
know what the consequences are. You
That's
know what
right.
option A is and option
Yeah.
B is. You know that
Yeah.
you might be slowing your career path or you might be
Yes.
escalating it
Yes.
on the choices that you made because someone
Yes.
else is making a decision about your future.
That's right. Well,
It's
that's
not.
what's good also about this legislation, and I'm actually excited to hear a little bit more in detail because I have not studied it a lot. But I have always said that there is a profound difference, Paula, between dealing with what it is people may think or perceive of you, which I do not have any control over, versus what legislation like this can do, which does put boundaries on what you can do about that.
Allow it to.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
If you,
I may
yes.
think or feel a certain way about your hair, but I
What's wrong with
better,
my hair?
I told you I thought you were sexy, baby. I
Okay.
love it. I love it. But someone who might think, oh, that's just too little too wild. She's sitting up here, president of the bank, and blah, blah, blah. But what this does is to put certain limitations on and send the message profoundly. You may think
Right.
certain things, but you be careful about what you do.
Right. And so let's talk. I mean, Senator Anthony will talk a lot about the Crown Act. What about cleavage? I used to always tell people when I taught a marketing and managing your professional image class at the college, I used to always tell people if you bend over and I can see your navel, then you've got
If I can see your navel.
yeah, you bend over, you can see all the way down, then you've got
Right,
too much open. Or if you
right.
bend over and you're showing me something on my laptop and all I can see is from my peripheral vision, other things. But now
I,
they're showing you something, you're trying to watch, but all you see is this, this side. So,
exactly.
and even the jewelry, how much, if you're going on an interview, would you suggest that, again, these are saying the quiet part out loud, right? Would you suggest
Yep,
that people take
yep,
their nose rings off?
yeah.
What would you suggest? And folks who are listening, put something in the chat. Let us know what you think about cleavage and about open toe shoes and sandals and
Yes,
about earrings and jewelry,
right.
all around, all over your face and arm and tattoos and
Yes.
hair. Let us know what you think. Are we
Well,
free?
and
Can we do what we want to do? Yeah.
those
Can we?
impressions cut all kinds of ways. I remember when I was in higher ed and we were doing a dean search, and we had a male dean who showed up for his talk who had an earring.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I remember all the back
Yes.
conversation about what that meant or didn't mean, or
Yes.
what some assumptions people
Was it the
had.
right ear or the left ear? Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm,
right, which I
mhm.
was not hip to at all,
Yeah.
by the way.
It
But
didn't matter, right?
it didn't matter to me. I just thought it was I thought it was cool as hell.
And he got
But
the job, didn't he?
yes, I thought it
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah,
And
I
so,
remember that.
but I think higher ed is one of those settings where, it's a little more liberal in its positioning with some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But to some degree, my point is that even in that liberal setting, there was conversation.
Yes.
There was conversation about that. So imagine that in a more conservative setting where you're trying to get a job. That was the question you asked. When you're
Mhm.
trying to get some opportunity or what have you, I
Or you
don't
just
think
want
you
to,
have
or you
any
just want to
choice,
be
but
promoted. You want to go to the next level, and people
I
are
think you
watching you
have
every
to be
day.
mindful of how you present yourself.
But
And
why?
so
How do we change that? I mean, who should decide? And I used to tell folks this, I could come in with overalls and a t-shirt on, and I'm still the same person, same brain, still going to work just as hard. But you're making a decision about my future based on how I look. When
that's
is that
true.
going to change? I mean, and women, African American women, according to the Duke study and the Dove Institute study, African American women are 1.5 times more likely to not be promoted based on curly hair, natural
Yes.
hairstyles. And
Yes.
so until we get in positions, women particularly get into positions of more positions of hiring and deciding that, how does this culture change? So it shouldn't matter.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. It's about the culture change. That's
Mhm.
exact. You answered your question in asking the question. It's about a culture change. And a lot of the things we're talking about are about a culture change. And you can't fight that culture unless you're in it. You
Yes.
can't work to change it unless you're in it. So
Yeah.
I would encourage women to be thoughtful about really what's your end goal. And sometimes, Paula, my personal opinion, you play the game.
Well, yeah, because if you have customers,
Yeah,
I mean, it might be my business,
yeah,
but if I own a big franchise over on Wall Street and I have customers who come in or whatever it might be, customers who come in, it's the customer's perception of
that's right.
that establishment. It's not
That's right.
necessarily the own, and
That's
so
right.
they acquiesce to whatever the
Right.
customers
Right.
might think. When I was in banking, and again, the only African American woman in the country to be president of a majority-owned bank, and I remember telling the chairman of the board, people are going to take their money and run when they see an African American woman as CEO of this bank.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he looked at me and said, talk about culture. He looked at me and said, let them.
Yeah.
So he didn't care. That was the support that we need. But nevertheless, the customers coming
Right.
in, they're thinking, well, what's going on here? This
Right.
woman. So
And you weren't wearing your hair like that back then either, were
no,
you?
no, no,
Absolutely not.
no, they still would have still been running if I'd been wearing. We would have been broke. So no, and that's something else too. Why do we change the way we wear hair based on the industry? If I was getting an attorney or a doctor and they had pink hair, a woman had pink
Yes.
hair, would you
Yeah.
feel as comfortable about their level of competence and accomplishment?
Quite
And then
honestly,
put it in the chat. Let us know what you think. I mean,
yeah,
you're
I'm going to
looking
be
for a new,
looking at a resume. See, I'm a more of a show me person.
yeah.
So I'm real. Yes, my initial impression is the initial impression you give me, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't control what it is that I may be processing or,
Right.
coming to a conclusion about. But let your work speak for you. I mean, if,
Yes.
if if you're going to go out there a little bit, my advice to you is make sure your work is real tight. Make sure it speaks for itself
Yeah.
so that people begin to understand that you are about more than just what they see before their eyes.
Is that
Is
what it means when people say that we have to work twice as hard
absolutely.
in order
And
to
that
be able
doesn't,
to
I
get the
mean,
same level of success? I mean,
that's the
I,
life we've lived, Cunningham. We know
yeah.
that.
And well,
That's
men walk in with their hair cut, however their hair is cut most of the time.
absolutely,
Sometimes they might have a spike
absolutely.
or a buzz or
They
whatever.
can dress grungy.
Yeah, right.
They
But
can be grungy.
we need to be mindful of that. Women need to be
Right.
mindful of whether it's micro braids or well, like one of our mentees in our still I shouldn't say mentees, but one of the women in our cohort of
Yes.
women network that we meet with monthly. And if you're interested, please look at the website. We have some openings starting in March again of 2026.
They're a
But she
dynamic
said
group of women.
yeah, they're phenomenal.
They
And
are a dynamic group of women.
she works in a financial institution, and she came in and told us that for a few days or a week or so, she dyed her hair completely pink.
I remember that.
Remember that? Completely pink. And I was so proud of her for stepping out that way. And
And
she
she showed us a picture.
is beautiful. And
She showed you a picture. What was your response? Because I couldn't see the picture. What was your
I
response?
was so proud of her. I was proud because she was stepping out into who
Right.
who she is and saying it's okay to be noticed. She didn't
Yes.
keep it pink, but she wore it pink for a while and everyone
Yes.
noticed. Did that hurt her career trajectory? I hope not, because she's been a
Yes.
phenomenal worker there for a
Yeah.
long time. But to have that boldness to just
But then,
you know,
but let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's do the flip side because you talked about a customer.
yeah.
So suppose she were a bank teller, for example,
Mm-hmm.
which she's not. But let's suppose she's a bank teller. I'm making a cash deposit. She's taking my money in her flaming pink hair.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, good for you, girl, but let me get a receipt because I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure where you're coming from. There doubt enters people's mind. We can't deny that. Don't deny that. That
Yeah.
people form opinions and
No question.
biases and thoughts.
No
So,
question. So because of your having doubts, do I not wear my hair pink?
no, I think that's you understand that there's going to be this place in this space between our interaction where you're giving me pause.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it. You're giving me
We're going to bring
pause.
Senator Sarah Anthony on, and she's going to talk with
Yes,
us about the Crown Act. All
I'm
right.
looking
So,
forward to it.
yes, same here. Welcome. Hello, Senator
Good
Anthony.
morning, Senator. How are
How are you
you?
doing? How are you doing? Can you hear us okay?
I can. How are you?
All
Great.
right. Thanks for giving us some of this time. We've been talking already a little bit about this Crown Act and the bold, courageous move that you made to make certain that Michigan women in Michigan, not just Michigan, but across the country, weren't judged or weren't in any way minimalized because of how they wear their hair in terms of their career trajectory. So we're so happy to have you with us.
And
I,
Paula's wearing her sexy hair today in honor of you.
I started to braid it and everything else, but I thought I'll just
Whatever you want to do, however you want to show up is okay.
and you're gonna protect me. Your legislation's gonna protect me. If somebody wants to fire me, I got some Crown Act to support the work.
That's right.
Thank you so much. I know how busy you are, and congratulations too on finally getting your budget passed. We had us sweating there for a little bit. I know that took so much of your time and effort, and but you got it done. Crossed the aisle and made good things happen. Talk a little bit about, and we're just having fun today, and we're trying very hard not to ruin your reputation through this podcast. Okay.
Well, you won't.
All right. So the Crown Act, for people who don't know, is creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. Talk about that journey that you went, why that was elevated, got your attention, and ended up being some legislation.
That's right. So, and thank you for having me. I already feel like I'm at home. So this is
You
great.
are.
You are at home.
You
The
are.
only
And just
opportunity
for full transparency, she's also our link sister. I'm just saying. So
Yes.
This is true. I should have just worn my black outfit and then I would have been completely insane. But here we are. So in 2019, I observed what happened in the state of California, in which a few Black women, Black lawmakers, introduced the very first Crown Act. And I immediately thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is possible. And oftentimes, until we see an example of something, either in an individual, a person that ascends, or a piece of legislation, an example of what could be, you never know that it exists, because we have had conversation, particularly among Black women, for years. I remember being sat down, some of my mentors saying, okay, you can wear your hair like that in college, but when you graduate, it's time to straighten up. It's time to become more professional. You're not going to be able to navigate these spaces in that way. Right. And these are conversations that happen not out of malice, but out of sheer concern. Yes. And so even this weekend, I was sitting next to a sister at the NAACP meeting, and she talked about the space that her son, who has locks, navigated in his professional journey. He's a Harvard graduate and still could not have, the types of opportunities that he knows that he should have. And so in 2019, we introduced the Crown Act and got laughed out of rooms. The bill was sent to what folks call the legislative graveyard in the House. And I had both Republicans and Democrats, even some Black folks, that said, look, you're new in your professional career. Think about tax policy. Think about serious legislation. Don't be thinking about stuff like hair. Right. And I thought about the conversations that we often have with, when you get a seat at the table, are you going to show up and advocate for things that matter to you, to your experience.
For
And
you.
yeah, and so ultimately it just would feel like a betrayal not to elevate the voices of all of my constituents, which includes some Black women who were denied employment, health care, other opportunities because of their natural hair. And so we introduced it despite some of those barriers.
And did you get bipartisan, you received bipartisan support once you introduced it and explained it to people or not?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
In 2023, when we finally were able to pass it, the most compelling stories were the stories involving children.
Wow.
Children who were being denied an opportunity to participate in sports. There was a girl who really broke my heart. I believe this was in 2019 as well. She was denied a school picture because of her braids. This was in
Wow.
Jackson. This was
Wow.
not too far away from my hometown here in Lansing. And so when you thought about those children who were being denied opportunities, I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, Black, white, rural, urban, these stories were heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
And when we think about just the communities that we're trying to build up and the types of self-esteem we're trying to build into children, those were the most compelling stories that got folks from both sides of the aisle.
That's very
But Sarah, you
powerful.
said something that I think needs to be understood by people who don't know anything about the Crown Act.
Yeah.
And you alluded to one of the things I think we need to know. This is about protection in both the workplace and in schools.
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
This is
okay.
in education settings. This is in healthcare settings. This is
Okay.
in employment. One of the most heartbreaking stories I heard was from a gentleman who had an open head wound. Okay, so I mean, got injured at work, bleeding at the head, showed up at a health at a hospital, and one of the attendants literally said, "Oh, I don't touch hair like that. You have to wait until the next shift because I'm assuming it was a Black nurse or a Black could come and actually touch that hair because, you know, locks are dirty and they're not kempt and I don't have I don't want to touch it." Can you
Wow.
imagine?
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and these are Michigan-based stories.
Yes.
And so these were things that, again, whether you're talking about being denied a promotion or even a job in general, being able to take a school picture or even being denied health care, there were people in our state that were struggling just to live out the true meaning of our society, which is, you know, fair and equal treatment.
One of the things I love about this is how it elevated the issue. You know, so people can still make those judgments or the decisions in hiring someone, but at least it's elevated the issue and people are talking about it. And they know also if they can prove that's discriminatory action, that there is some legislation that helps to protect them. And I love what you said, Senator, about the children. Michelle Obama said that she never wore braids in the White House because she knew how it would be perceived. And so when she got out and started wearing her braids, her micro braids, people were shocked. And she said she'd always worn braids before that, but in the White House. So how do we, this helps. I know the Crown Act helps tremendously, but what will it take to change that initial judgment, that initial reaction to someone with pink? We were just sharing earlier. Someone in our cohort has pink hair. She works at a financial institution, and she dyed her hair pink for 1 week because she just felt bold enough after talking with me and Sonya. She felt like she could move the world. But how do you change that perception? What do we need to do? Educate, elevate?
It's weird, right? I mean, I feel like we're all trying to strive towards, you know, being judged by the content of our character, what is in our hearts, what's in our head, not what's on top of our head.
Exactly.
You know, I remember we had a breakthrough. Again, we introduced the Crown Act in 2020 was kind of this racial reckoning, right? Folks having courageous conversations. And while those conversations were happening, many of us couldn't go to the salon to get a perm, to straighten our hair chemically. So some of us were forced natural. And then that forced conversations because, you know, Jennifer in HR, who normally has her hair silky straight, all of a sudden looked different. And that sparked the conversations. I think seeing each other as human first and being bold enough to ask the question, tell me about your hair.
Yeah.
How, you know, and doing so with the spirit of grace, because you can tell when someone's trying to be funny. Versus when someone is genuinely curious.
Interested,
And
right.
the way to discern the difference is relationship.
Yes.
Well, come to me if you never talk to me, and the first thing is your hair is down your back today, but yesterday you had a shortcut.
And you're good about doing that.
Yes,
You're
listen,
good about
we switch it up because quite honestly, this is cultural.
yes.
And ultimately, I think it's all going to go back to relationship building, whether
Mhm.
it's in the workplace, in the educational setting. If we can actually become more communal, more village oriented, then conversations like hair become very small. They become
Yeah.
very minimal, and they take a back seat to what's really important, which is our character, our heart, and what we're bringing to these spaces.
And that's very well said. You know, I was sharing a study that Duke University's business school had done, and also the Dove Institute had done, that talked about women in certain professions are still judged today if they don't have uniform hair. You know, if it's not all straight, whether it's African American women or whether it's a majority women or whomever, their hair needs to look a certain way. But as more people like yourself who get into leadership roles, who actually starts talking about these issues, elevate them, talk about them, that perception over time, and even the next generation, hopefully will change the way that we perceive hair, tattoos, nose rings, all of that, right? And that, yeah, it's the heart, not it's not the
Yeah,
hair.
Paula and I had a little preview conversation, Sarah, about this, going back and forth in real honesty about how we would handle some of this, and what we would advise other women to do. And Paula just alluded to a place that I kind of fell in all of this discussion. And one was our agreement about the fact, and you really bringing home this understanding that this is about a culture change. This is about a paradigm shift in how it is that we think about people and how it is that we value people. And on the other side of that is that to bring about that change, you've got to be in the game. And that's where I fell, quite honestly, Senator, in the position of saying to women, I do think you need to be mindful when you're trying to get in the game, when you're trying to get to the table, of how you present yourself. Because as offensive as that may be at times, they're not ready. Many spaces and places are simply not ready. And I don't want us to deny that. Because I've also been one of those women who's had, as I was sharing to Paula, I'm thinking, all right, about to give this major speech. I don't think I should have my braids. And now I'm older than you, but I remember back then having those sorts of processes. So I think there's this balance we find ourselves having to strike about what's my freedom here to present as I wish, and what is it that I may do that gets me at the table? What might I concede? Or what I might reposition to get at the table so that I can be a force that says women can present the hell the way they want to. So we still live in this push and pull with all of this. The beauty of what you're doing, Senator, is that regardless of what people may think or feel, you are putting boundaries on what they have the ability to do. And I appreciate you for that, my sister. Let me tell you, that's a powerful thing to be able to do. But this bit about how people think and feel, ladies, we know we've got a long way to go.
We do. I think about even me, I come from a place of privilege because I'm elected.
Yes.
So the only way I lose my job is if I lose an election.
Yes.
That is very different than corporate spaces.
Yes.
Right? Corporate culture, which I've never navigated, is very different than the public space, in which I do feel like I have different tools to show up as I want.
Yes.
And so I think that your thoughts and your advice is really salient, because a young sister who's starting as a junior attorney in a firm, who is going to be representing a very conservative, majority white male firm, has to navigate that space very differently than me, right?
That's right.
When Paula's been in my office, and when you go into the appropriations office, there is a slew of all white, all male photos of everyone who's been the appropriations chair, and then there's me. And I made the choice to wear my hair natural, and to have a very little crown pin on, because I want history to see that the first Black woman to lead the budget process also made sure that she was paving the way for the next generation of Black women to show up as they wanted.
I love it.
So
Love it.
obviously, like, that's a big job of leading the budget process, but it also shows that we can do both.
Yes.
That we can also center the experiences of Black women
Yes.
and Black folks in general. And my mom, when I tell her about the Crown Act, she always says that the struggle I had was whether to dye my hair.
Wow.
Because the discrimination against women whose roots were showing was one that connected Black and white women for not wanting to be seen as old.
Yeah.
Well, you've been that trailblazer for a long time because you were the youngest commissioner, isn't that correct? The youngest commissioner in the country to be a county commissioner. And you've been on that path for a very, very long time, a trailblazer in and out, through and through, and just so appreciate you. I'm still old school. I say go in as you are and just fight the battle. But you're right. You've got to get a seat at the table. You've got to have the influence of the electorate behind you. You've got to have something behind in order to get to that next level. But you've made it possible for all of us and for every young woman out there, Black, white, purple, green, red, whatever, every woman out there, just to think twice about who they are and how they enter a room, and not to be afraid and not to cower down to the perceptions. But if you're ready for it, go
appreciate
for
you,
it.
Sarah.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
And
you
I know,
both.
yeah, and I know the battle, the battle's not over. You're fighting a lot of battles for us, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here with us today.
Bless you. Thank you again. Y'all are great.
I think you're great. Thank you. All right, you take care. And
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
I tell you, it's young women like her that give me hope, Cunningham.
yes, yeah, she's
You know
phenomenal.
what I mean?
Yeah,
The
she
young
is.
women who we might need to think about how we highlight that. This is a little detour from our time with Senator Anthony, but we might want to think about and ask our viewers about how it is that we use our time and our podcast to encourage and uplift some of these young leaders, these young women leaders who are doing things that are trailblazing in their own right. And
there are a lot of them out there.
a lot of them out
put
there.
something in the chat, talk to us, let us know what your thoughts are, what topics you'd like to hear. We've got a lot in our own head that we'd like to share with you, but we'd like to see what's in your head as well. And please like, subscribe, share this podcast. We're trying to get as many people viewing as possible so that we can share the messages that you've heard, such as the one you've heard today. Thank you.
Just know in this space, I'm going to be natural and Paula's going to be sexy. That's just how it is. That's
and I just want to note one thing, please, for our viewers who are watching this. There was not one swear word spoken today. Progress.
I did,
Progress.
and you missed it. I was so smooth with it, you missed it.
Maybe we'll do a session on whether or not you can swear and still get promoted in the workplace. But in the meantime, please like, share, subscribe to Still I Rise podcast. And let us know what you think. Appreciate you all. Take care.
Take care.